Fighting games are a vehicle to develop yourself as a person. That's my angle. That's what I'm presenting to you. When you're reading your opponent, you're not just reading their behaviors. You're reading their emotion. Think back. When you were fighting a ranked set, your opponent jumped in on you and you tried to show you can them, but you did it too late. Or you didn't do it at all and you got hit. Why aren't you dragon punching in the match? Sure, you can go in training mode and do it, but in the match you can't do it. Why? That's what I'm trying to help you figure out. Now, what do you think your actions were like after that angry moment? Do you think you might have been a little more erratic? How do you play when you're angry at yourself? Not at the game. You're angry at yourself because you messed it up. The game didn't mess it up. You messed it up. You know to air that. You know how to, but you didn't. And you've been practicing it for hours, maybe for weeks, and you still missed it. How do you feel about that? It's okay to call me. Just at me next time, right? And yeah, it's frustrating. I lose focus. I focus in and I look harder at it and end up dropping other stuff. Exactly. If I whiff an input, I immediately go do the input again to prove I can, but the moment has passed, so it's useless. Yes, that is that's one of the oldest reads in the book, is if you see your opponent drop something or like try to do a thing and it didn't work, you can bet your bottom dollar, especially if they're an intermediate level player, they're going to try it again. They're going to try the exact same thing again, not long from now. Because of that exact reason. They got to prove to themselves, yeah, I can do it. I know I can do it. Shoot, if they're doing a dragon punch and they're trying to practice that and do it on anti-air, you might just see them do a random dragon punch just because. Because they're like, I can do this input, right? I can do this, right? You become less rational. Actually, you become more rational in your behavior, in your actions, in your choices. I'm working so hard, but it's a slow grind. It is a slow grind. Well, really, what you got to do is you got to accept that this takes time. But the process is the process.
Genius the time, he did a time combo.
And you can optimize it as much as you can, but you will never escape the process. Because the process is always going to be there. Zangief's wheel kicking in neutral, getting hit by Sonic Boom. I'll start booming repeatedly and watch these counter hits rack up as they try to wheel kick me again. Exactly. When you see this Zangief player do that, what do you think they're feeling? What do you think the Zangief player is feeling there? They're mad as hell. We can tell when our opponents are angry. You can tell when they're crashing out. And once you know what's happening to them, you can take advantage of it and destroy them for it. But their actions tend to become more predictable. Their frontal lobe, the part of our brain that is higher order reasoning, that really is the executive function of our brain, turns off or doesn't work as well. And suddenly we start behaving and acting and playing at a level much lower than what we actually are. Often this is what happens when you're nervous, because nervous is an emotion. Any strong emotion does this to you. If they get sufficiently strong, you will have your frontal lobe turned down. Your decision making will go down, unfortunately. That's how our brains are wired. The better you get as a player, the better you get at managing that emotional experience. You're not going to stop it. You're not going to stop feeling anger. You're not going to stop feeling anxiety. You're not going to stop feeling frustration. What you need to do is shorten how long it lasts. These matches are only 60 seconds long sometimes, 12 seconds. In reality, in Virtual Fighter, oftentimes that's a long round. All you gotta do is just last until the end of that round, at least. And then you can reset once someone dies, once someone gets KO'd. Then you can reset your emotional experience and kind of lock back in. I used to have to wait sometimes a whole match. I'd have to lose the match. And then it wasn't until the next match until I was able to kind of bring myself back in, because I was so upset with myself for dropping the combo or dropping the whiff punch or dropping whatever it was I was trying to do that I know I can do, that I practiced a million times in a row, and I just couldn't do it in the match, and I dropped it and I lost maybe in a really important thing because of it. Oh my God, I can still feel it now when I think about it. The tournament I lost. I lost a tournament because I wrung myself out because I finished a combo. And I fell first, and I killed the other person. I would have won. I would have won the event. It hurts. It hurts so much. It hurts so much. But I didn't forget that. I've never forgotten that exact moment, in that exact situation, and that lesson. Luckily, it was the end, so I didn't have to deal with the emotional experience of being dysregulated afterward. I've never been in that kind of high stakes environment. Just losing a ranked match to a drop combo, it's a pain, so I can't imagine. Yeah, it just gets worse. But you also don't get to those like bigger stages until you are able to manage it at a lower stakes level. Because the subjective experience of stress, I think, is comparable. The way I feel on big stage losing a tournament or something like that, it's like how you might feel losing a ranked set if you've never been on the big stage yet. Once you're there, then like everything else comes easier. But I think it's harder to get there if you don't have this in control already. Or you might find that you'll get there in an inconsistent way. This is a part of the consistency conversation. How does one maintain consistency? Is by controlling your experience and how long and regulating your emotions better during a match.
It's not over, it's not over! Oh my God! Poke chop is all over the place!
And namely, better than your opponent, because it's a two-way street. Your opponent, or I'll say I can tell when someone's pissed off when I'm fighting them. Because their actions in the game start to make no sense. They start doing things that make zero sense. And when I notice that's happening, I'm like a rabid wolf. I'm a shark that smells blood in the water. And I start to just ram them down in that moment. Oh, you're dysregulated. I'm going to make it worse. I'm going to do all the things that are going to really piss you off. I'm going to heighten that emotion you're feeling right now by doing all the most annoying possible things I can do in the game. I can just kill you right now. That's the killer mentality. That's the will of the wind right there. That's the Satu no Hado, okay? That's the dark side. But when we're fighting, sometimes one must use skill sets that are dark. Like Ranked Black, I find ranked more frustrating personally because it's like you're disconnect to the exact same environments as your opponent. Losing to the guy next to me feels better because it's just me versus them. Online, it's like, did my computer lag? Did they lag? Did the network have issues? Yeah, that also happens. I find it helpful to make sure that I know I'm doing things properly, and then I can know whether the computer's having an issue or their computer's having an issue. I mean, even in tournament settings, like setups sometimes lag too. Sometimes you have a bad TV, sometimes you have a bad console, maybe it overheats, it was good earlier, but now it's bad. Nothing's safe. So I found that having flexibility in your ability to adjust to different suboptimal delay situations is actually optimal. In the modern fighting game, non-arcade cabinet setup world, you need that flexibility. You can't afford to just lose because of that. I mean, you could, but consistency. What was I saying? Emotions, right, there it is. So when I recognize someone's pissed, annoyed, anxious even, I can see it in their gameplay choices. I can see it in their movement. You know when someone's afraid too. We've all noticed when someone's afraid. You just knock their teeth out and then they just start freezing up or they start hesitating and you can see it happening. Yeah. We've all seen that before. We've all witnessed it. We've all experienced it. Oh, they're afraid right now. Well, what's telling us that they're afraid? Especially when they're online, or especially when they're even if they're sitting next to you, they might not tell you that they feel afraid. They might not even vocally or be able to consciously tell you, yeah, I'm feeling afraid right now. But you can clear as day, and everyone else in the audience can clear as day see this person is terrified right now. They are shaking in their boots. This person is confused. This person is trying to run. Now, as a fighter who's fighting that person, who's getting that emotional state, it's important for you to know what things create that in my opponent. How do I make them feel that way? What actions tend to make people feel afraid? What actions tend to make people feel anxious? What actions tend to piss people off? When you're reading your opponent, you're not just reading their behaviors. You're reading their emotions, because we're emotional. I'm very emotional, as you can tell. Maybe you can't tell, but I'm very emotional, okay? My girl is chock full of emotion, and I use it. I use it to help me understand my opponent in the moment. So I find the emotion to be more effective and faster at identifying what you need to do. And it's also a cheat code. If you know someone's pissed off or they're anxious or what makes them afraid, then you just do more of that, and then they get more and more afraid. Then the onus becomes on your opponent to, okay, can they calm themselves down? That's the next check. After you recognize, okay, this person's terrified right now, they're anxious, or they're afraid of this or afraid of that I can do to them. All right, now what do? How long do they stay in that state for? Do they just lose the whole match because of it? If it's a longer set, do they kind of come? This is why longer sets are actually really helpful, because it gives you a chance to work through that emotion and like calm back down and like actually, or not be so reactive to the emotional experience or whatever happened. Because it lets you have it happen over and over again, and you get to just be like, okay, this is fine. This is fine. I can think my way through this. The better you get, the better you are able to still think. Again, this is another skill one develops on the skill tree of mastering your fighting game experience. Your journey is mastering your emotional flexibility and being able to still think while being dysregulated. I'm encouraging you to use fighting games as a place to learn about yourself, learn about your opponents emotionally. And that's going to be like your secret sauce to beating people more effectively and more quickly. And people who are stronger than you. Because your opponent might be more skilled than you, but if they're not as emotionally resilient as you are, or as intelligent as you are in the emotional framework, and you can see, oh, you're afraid here. Okay, I'm gonna roll over you here now. And all you have to do now is see, okay, how long does it take them to recover? Or do they recover? And then create the situation over and over again. And boom, you're done. You got them. You're going to win. Even though they're better than you, because you've brought them down to your level by virtue of you've turned off their frontal lobe, or you've made their access to their decision-making processes in their brain less available to them. This is for the advanced players now, okay? This is for you. This is what you got to do. This might be your block. This might be actually what your issue is. You might know all the things you need to do already. Might be really quite good, but there's an emotional problem you're having. So when your opponent, when there's a huge life lead, it's a very clear, like you can understand why they're afraid there. That's like the first ground level area of this. The next, that's good, you need that. Now, to build on that idea is noticing when someone starts to behave kind of like that. Maybe not as extreme as that example, but a approximation of that. But they're not at a life deficit. Maybe they're afraid because you've been throw looping them to death, right? Maybe they're afraid because you're in heat and there's a back and there's a wall behind them. They're going to get crushed into it and comboed to oblivion. Like, there are a lot of situational factors that could create another high pressure situation that might make them afraid. Maybe you've just been reading them all game and now they're just terrified because anything they do just kills them. You want to start being able to better connect these emotional states in your opponent with actions you take, or with actions or contextual factors in the game that are happening. And the faster you can connect those two things with each other, the faster you'll be able to read your opponent more effectively. Because people tend not to be random. Few people are truly random. Most people are making a decision for a certain reason, and typically it has to do with emotions, or the amygdala, which is where a lot of emotions are that are fear-based. Which, when you're fighting someone, you know, it's stressful. This is the next layer. This is the next step in our fighting game scientific mastery, scientific way of mastering fighting games. We're introducing the emotions now. And this is the next direction my content's going, is I'm going to be integrating more and more of the emotional and the psychological kind of theory into you learning how to play these fighting games more effectively. You know, sure, now you've learned some emotional awareness in the game, how to read people's emotions through their actions in the game. Now maybe you'll start to learn people's emotions that are happening in your day-to-day life. Maybe you'll be more aware when, you know, you're having an argument with somebody and you notice how they change their actions, or they change their tone, or they change their rate in speech, and you're like, oh, this person's upset, or this person's like into me, and like, oh yeah, I'm into her too. You know, let's get it on. Like, you know, I'm trying to help you out, okay? I'll help you out. I'll help you get. Okay, you understand? You got it? You get it? Okay, good. Go learn how to be more emotionally aware in these fighting games. Good luck.